Greetings! My name's Sue's Cat. I run the blog Confessions of a Laundry Faerie, which can be found at laundryfaerie.blogspot.com. Shameless plugins here. And today marks the beginning of the 25th week after my duodenal switch surgery, which took place August 2nd, 2018. I'm not going to give stats anymore, but suffice to say, if you go down and take a look at it in the comment section below, you will notice that I have gained a little bit of weight. I came back over Christmas having gained some weight. Not really a big surprise. I mean, Christmas. The end of year holidays have a tendency to have all kinds of delicious, luscious, rich, fatty, sugary food. And you know what? I wasn't going to miss out on that. So yeah, I did not eat very well over the holidays, but I ate well in the sense that it was great, but I did not eat well in the sense of it being healthy. So yeah, I'm up a couple of pounds, but that's not driving me up the wall because, you know, you've got to live and you've got to have a few things here and there, and I'm okay with that. And I know that the weight will come off. I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm not that terribly concerned. And actually, I recommend that if you have gained a few pounds, if you have stalled, if things aren't moving the way that you want them to, of course you want to move things in the right direction, but don't beat yourself up. You do have to live. That doesn't mean that you have to eat horrible every day, but you do have to live. So yeah, I fell off the bandwagon as far as sugar was concerned, and I've been trying to get back into the swing of things. I made a decision based on one of the things that my ARNP told me. She really wants me to go out and start doing some weightlifting as a way of not only losing weight, but gaining muscle. And it's made me a little bit nervous. I haven't been to the gym since I was in high school. Gyms are not known for being particularly welcoming to fat ladies. So I've been very nervous about it. I haven't gone out and done it yet, but I have what I need to do it. I have a great book that was recommended to me by ARNP that was given to me for Christmas because my family's awesome. And all I really need to do now is buckle down and do it. So that's on my list. Let me think. Things I was going to tell you. Oh, I do have something that I want to talk to you about because I have mentioned it in passing before, the idea that the thing that a lot of DS patients seem to have in common is that first, they do their homework, and second, they're very opinionated. Largely because they do their homework. They form opinions based on the information that they gather, and when I sat down and I decided, okay, I'm going to do bariatric surgery, I need to get my diabetes under control, this is one of the best ways to do it. I sat down with each different type of bariatric surgery that I was considering, and I did pros and I did cons and tried to figure out what would be the best choice, and finally went with DS simply because it had the highest success rate of all the different options that I had available. But I did my homework, and you know what I'm going to tell you today is that you should do your homework. This is not something that you should be saying, not a big deal. No, it is a big deal because this is something that will affect the rest of your life. So you need to take the time, do your homework. You need to find out about all the different options you have for bariatric surgery, what each one does, what it does not do, whether you can expect weight regain, and if so, how to handle that. You need to determine what's best for your circumstances. My circumstances were a little bit different from what a lot of bariatric patients go through, in that my primary concern was to get my diabetes under control, and my secondary concern was to lose weight. For most people, that's going to be their primary concern, but it really depends on what you personally need. But I'm going to tell you to do your homework in the sense of find out what bariatric surgery would be best for you and what you can live with. The other thing that you need to be careful about is finding out as much as you can about the surgeon who will be performing your surgery. Now, in some cases, you're going to be very fortunate. I was very fortunate in that I found a very good, well-rated surgeon that was very close to where I live. I realize that's not going to be the case for everybody, and in fact, it may not be the case for most people. They may not live close to a surgeon that they trust, and they may have to travel there. You have some folks who travel out of country for reasons having to do with the cost of the surgery. But no matter where you end up going, I urge you to find out as much about your surgeon as you can. You can get some information online. Again, always be careful about getting information from strangers on the internet, but this is one of those times where it actually is useful to get that information, because people online can tell you about a surgeon's reputation. So it's worth it to find out and to ask around and see what kind of information about that surgeon you can find out. You need to find out about things like patient follow-up, how much work they do with you afterwards. My particular surgeon's office, I'm going to be going in there at least once a month for the first 6 months, and then there will be 3-month checkups for a long time thereafter, because they want to make sure that I'm absorbing the right amount of vitamins and other supplements, and that I'm taking good care of myself, that I'm not putting myself into a situation that can wind me up in the hospital. So you want to see about patient follow-up. You want to know how many of the particular surgery that you're going in for, how many surgeries your surgeon has completed. And I think it's important to give you an idea of how experienced your surgeon is in the particular specialty that you've gone in for. I will tell you that at the surgeon's office where I went in, I was originally scheduled to have my surgery in July. Now, maybe it was like June actually, but it was the middle of summer. And I was planning on that. And the surgeon that I had chosen, Dr. Srikanth, had to go out of town, actually went out of the country to attend a family wedding. And so he handed me off to one of his colleagues to do the surgery. I wasn't entirely comfortable with that. Not that the other surgeon wasn't a really pleasant, wonderful individual, very thoughtful, very professional, but I point blank asked him when I went in to consult with him, how many of these surgeries have you performed? And it was around 100, which sounds good until you realize that Dr. Srikanth had performed thousands of these surgeries. The other doctor, although he was very good, was not a specialist. He did other types of surgery as well as bariatric, and he had not done nearly as many surgeries as Dr. Srikanth. And although I thought he was a very good surgeon and a very good physician, I chose to postpone my surgery because I had taken the time to look up Dr. Srikanth to find out information about him. I had not been able to look up information on this other doctor, and I just felt more comfortable having my surgery done by the surgeon for whom I had performed the due diligence to determine whether he was going to be the right one for me. I strongly recommend that you do this, and even if you have to put off your surgery to get the surgeon you want, it's worth it. I've heard a couple of horror stories. Again, anytime you see something online, you need to take it with a grain of salt because you don't know if it's going to be accurate. But I have seen some horror stories from people who went in to have bariatric surgery done by a doctor who was not very familiar with the surgery. It was not his or her specialty, and ended up with all kinds of physical problems that needed to be fixed by another surgeon, if they could be fixed at all. So yes, it's important that you do this. It's really important that you do this, and that you find out as much as you can about your surgeon before you come in. And if you have to postpone your surgery date to get the surgeon that you want, then that's what you should probably do. Anyway, that's all for this week. Again, my name's Srikanth. I run the blog Confessions of a Laundry Faerie, which can be found at laundryfaerie.blogspot.com. If you have comments, if you have questions, if you have advice, if there's anything else that you'd like to share, like how to shed those after Christmas pounds, because I'm going to be working on that in the next little while, or if you have information about joining a gym or getting a personal trainer or doing any of those things, because I am completely unfamiliar with this and I have no idea what I'm doing, I would love to hear from you. So if you're interested, please do make comments down there, and I would be happy to respond to them. I hope you're having a good week, and I hope that the week ahead will be a great one for you. Thanks for watching. Bye.